Welcome to the Following the Joy podcast with me, Debbie Westwell, confidence and mindset coach and massive travel enthusiast. This podcast is a place to talk about being the best version of yourself, following your heart, making scary changes and having fun on this adventure that we call life. I'm your biggest cheerleader and I want you to know that it is never too late to start over and make a life you are excited to get out of bed for. So let's go and get following the joy. In today's episode, I am speaking to the wonderful and lovely Hayley Smith. She is a transformation coach. She deals with ladies who are stuck, but have that drive and desire to do something differently. She's got such a wonderful, wonderful manner about herself. I can't wait for you to listen. We talk about all of the different careers that she's had, how she's managed to kind of come out of situations. She shares with us some absolute golden nuggets. And we also do some fridge magnet cliches as well, you know. She is very, very honest and open. She shares with us of how she was diagnosed with clinical depression and actually how she no longer has that. She doesn't take medication anymore and how she kind of got through that and what helped her along the way. So I can't wait for you to listen to this. It's just such a wonderful, heartwarming episode, and hopefully there'll be something in there that you relate to and you'll love it that much that you'll share it with somebody. So keep on listening. Hi Hayley, welcome to Following the Joy podcast. I am so excited that you're here today talking to me, so welcome.
Thank you, Debbie. It's lovely to see you again.
Oh. Okay, so for everybody listening, Hayley and I met each other on a little course that we were doing about being known, basically. And do you know what? The ladies on that course were just so amazing that a lot of them are coming up on the podcasts anyway, because I just had to interview them. And I love interesting people who've got a bit of a journey. So anyway, I'm going to kind of hand the floor over to you, so to speak, Hayley. So introduce yourself to the listeners and let them know who you are and where you're at and what you're up to.
Sure. So I'm Hayley Smith. I am a transformation coach. So I help driven and ambitious women who are feeling frustrated and overwhelmed, and I help them unlock their full potential to create a life that they actually love.
I love that. Yeah, you are very similar to me because I am the same. I'm all about, if you're not happy where you are, there's always a way to make a change. So I think you're a little bit like me, aren't you, where you've had a lot of different careers?
Yes.
Go on, share with me what you've been up to.
So I went to university. I was always really academic at school and very much went down the university route. So I studied economics and French at university, and everybody who was doing that kind of course was going into banking or accounting. And I just knew that wasn't for me, but I didn't know what was for me. So I sort of got to the end of my degree and an opportunity came up to do a graduate program with a charity called Teach First. Essentially, they are sponsored by the big four accounting firms, Google, HSBC, lots of really big companies. And the idea is you go and be a teacher in a low socioeconomic area for 2 years. You get a full teaching qualification out of it. And at the end of the 2 years, you can be fast tracked to work in one of their programs. Oh. So teach first, go into business second is the premise.
Okay.
And I thought, this is perfect for me because I don't know what I want to do. I love helping people. And I was at actually quite a low point in my life at the time. I'd been diagnosed with clinical depression. I was actually suicidal. So the thought of going to do something that would make a change was like tick, tick, tick. So I was like, yes, absolutely. Threw myself into it. We had about 6 weeks training before we were just given a class. So
wow, that's
I
long.
was a high school maths teacher. Everybody hates maths, right? So not only am I like 23 years old standing in front of these like 16-year-old kids who hate maths, like I didn't know what I was talking about, but I loved it. I loved the kids I worked with. I developed like a really lovely bond with so many of them, but I knew teaching wasn't for me. It's such an honorable career. I just wasn't prepared to do it in the long run. I think you give a lot and you don't get very much in return, apart from job satisfaction. That's That's it. And I needed more than that. So at the end of my 2 years, I transitioned into one of the sponsor firms. So I actually went and worked for PwC and was training to be an accountant. So that was career number 2.
Wow. Okay.
And I thought, oh, this is what I'm supposed to do. I'm an economics graduate. We're supposed to become auditors. It was the most boring job I've ever done in my life.
Now, there's nothing wrong with any of accountants that are listening, but we're laughing because actually, to be fair, everything that you've described to me so far is like, oh, these are all the boring careers that I would personally never choose.
Yeah. And you know what? Thank God there are people that want to do these jobs.
Yeah, because we need them.
Right, but it just didn't align with me. And the thing I did love about it is I loved learning about these businesses and going into them. I felt like we never really did anything with the information we were getting. And I don't know, it was very hierarchical. So I was like, oh, I don't think this is for me. And I had a couple of friends that worked in recruitment. And I was like, oh, I'm not a salesperson, I don't do sales. That couldn't possibly be for me. But these people were earning really good money. And I was like, I am a money person. So maybe this is something I should start exploring. It's actually a funny story. I feel like long enough time has passed that I can actually tell the truth on this. So basically, when you're training,
this is a safe space. It's a safe space.
Yeah,
nobody will say anything.
Yeah. Basically, when you're training at one of these companies, they're paying for your training. The agreement is that you'll work for them until you're qualified and you don't leave during that time. Otherwise, you have to pay back the exam fees.
Yeah.
And I knew I couldn't stick it out for the full length of time. But I had a mortgage to pay. I couldn't afford to pay back these exam fees and quit. So essentially what I did was I deliberately failed the exam because they have this thing where if you fail, they kick you out. So I was like, this is what I'm going to have to do. So I started talking to recruitment companies and I thought, I'll just explore it. I'll see if this could be for me. And I was totally hooked. It was commission based. So I knew I'd get out what I put in, which is very much how I like to operate. So I got myself a job lined up. I'd signed the contract. I'd got it all agreed. And I was like, look, my exam's on this date. I find out my results a month after that. And then I have to give a month's notice. So we had it all mapped out, the different stages and when I could officially start with them. And I was like, obviously we have to keep this hush hush because I don't want to have to pay back these exam
Were
fees.
you honest with the recruitment company?
Oh yeah,
I'm going to fail my exam.
I was honest with everyone else. Actually, there were certain people close to me that I didn't tell because I was so scared that they would either tell me it was a bad idea or try and talk me out of it. But I was so set in my mind, this is my route out. We're going for it. And bear in mind, these exam fees are £9,000. It's not
it's not a small amount of money. It's not a couple of £100 that you can borrow off someone. No, it was
not feasible for me. So I just could not pay it. So the day the exam comes, I don't do anything. It's an open book exam. I didn't even take the book with me. I was committed to this failing, right? I was committed.
I mean, that takes some commitment.
I was full stealth mode. So the day comes and the exam results come and surprise, surprise, I failed. Oh, I'm so upset. I can't believe it. I've tried so hard. So I'm having this meeting with my manager and I'm waiting for her to say, we're going to have to let you go because you failed your exam as per the agreement. And she doesn't say that. Instead, she says, well, we've had such good feedback from you that we think this must just be a blip. So we're going to give you another chance.
Oh, no.
No, you can't because the plan. No, we have a plan. No, you can't give me another chance. So I think I just panicked in this meeting and was like, oh, I just don't think I could go. I just don't think it's for me. I don't think I can I just don't think this is for me. I think me failing is a sign. I think it's just best if we part ways. I don't want you to make excuses for me and give me a chance that you wouldn't give to other people. I was really doing this. So they agreed I could leave, but they did say you might have to pay back these fees. But it's been, how many years has it been? It's been 5 or 6 years. So I'm in the clear, right?
I think
it's been long enough.
I definitely think so. Well, first of all, right, congratulations, because you actually found a way out of a situation. You found a loophole that you could come out of a situation. And people might be listening and judging, going, how could you do that or whatever. But do you know what? Put yourself in that situation. If somebody gave you a way out of something that you really didn't like, you would 100% take it, as long as it's legal and ethical. I mean, ethical, but like as long as it's legal, at least. So, technically you've shown some form of gumption there and thinking outside of the box. So yeah. I like that. All right. Okay. So then you moved on to recruitment.
Yeah. So then I moved into the world of recruitment, and I just absolutely loved it. I really did. I felt like I'd found something that ticked all my boxes. I could earn money on my terms. It was all about getting to know people, finding out their motivations. And yeah, I absolutely loved it. And like I say, thankfully I did very well at it, which was great for me. It really turned around my personal circumstances at the time, so I'll always be forever grateful to it for that. So I did that for about 5 years, and progressed from an absolute newbie, ended up becoming an associate director. So I did well in a very short space of time, but I got to a point where I realized the part of the job that I loved was coaching people. That is what I loved. I wasn't particularly wedded to coaching them to find a new job or helping them with what's the best path for their career. It was the overall coaching that I loved. And I've always wanted to work for myself. And I just thought, if I don't do it now, when will I do it? And, we can talk about this in more depth later, but I had experienced the power of having a coach myself. And I saw what that did for my life, and I thought, I could do that for somebody else. I'm already doing that in part in my 9 to 5. Why couldn't I expand that? And so I just got to a point where I just said, if not now, when? And I thought, with every year that passes, I'm going to find more and more reasons not to do it.
Yes.
So I just thought, no, now's the time to do it.
Oh, yeah. I love that. And you're so right as well, because actually, how many of us, and everybody listening, how many dreams have you had in the past that you've put aside? And I've been exactly the same as you, Hayley. Like, I wanted to start my own business. I would probably say 10 years ago. And I never did it. I got as far as getting like a website and putting stuff on social media, but I never really committed to it. And actually, I think if I reflect back, and this is what I want everybody who's listening to do, if you reflect back, if you think about that one dream that you had the opportunity to take possibly, or maybe you haven't yet, how long have you had it for? And actually, if you had changed your life at the point like Hayley did, where she said, if not now, when? So if you'd have changed it, maybe like, when you had that dream originally or a year after, what would your life look like now? And financially, how would you be now? Is it like, what have you lost, basically? What have you lost emotionally, but also what have you lost financially by not taking that little scary step forward and doing it? And if you think about it like that, you'll probably be like, right, no, I'm ready now. I'm ready to take that leap and do it and try it, because
100%.
You can always go back to your comfy slippers and the job that you're in or something similar. But, we don't have a guaranteed time frame on this planet.
No.
So, we've just got to kind of feel the fear and do it anyway. And I know that's like one of those like fridge magnet cliches, but it's so, so true.
It is 100%. I'm very similar to you in that I had initially explored becoming a coach probably close to about 10 years ago, and I had every reason not to. I'm too young. What do I know? Who would listen to me?
Imposter syndrome.
Yeah, get a
Huge
safe job,
syndrome.
Climb the corporate ladder, all these things. And I look back now, and don't get me wrong, I'm not somebody who lives with regret. I do believe everything happens for a reason, and I've learned so much in the last decade that does benefit me where I am now. But you do look back and think, God, where would I be now if I had done that? If I had taken that leap, where would I be? And I think, like you say, we don't know how long we have. I mean, we lost my partner's mom a couple of years ago. Very suddenly, she was only 47. And I think for both of us, we've been saying things like, oh, so if we only lived to 47, you know, how many years would we have left? And, you know, you don't want to be too morbid about it, but I think you also have to like carpe diem, seize the day, you know. I think you do.
Absolutely. And I think you're right in the fact that sometimes it does take that facing mortality, whether it's your own because of something that's happened to you, whether it's you know, an accident or health or whatever, whether it's a family member's, and kind of want to like get the message out to the world, really. They're like, you don't have to wait till you know you're facing that mortality. I'm the same. Like for me, my huge line in the sand came when my mum got ill at the back end of 2022 and we got told she had 3 weeks to live, and that for me was like, okay, huge priority shift. Like the sands have all shifted underneath me, huge priority change. Family, I want to be able to, you know, spend as much time with my family as I possibly can. It was previously I want to be able to work from any location in the world. In my head I was thinking, you know, from my friend's house in Mexico, or you know, I want to be able to be in New Zealand for a month and working there, or travel and do it. But now it was like I want to be able to work at my mum's bedside if that's what I need to do, or whatever. Now mum is still with us, so that's good. I come from hardy stock, but it's like don't wait till you have that mortality moment. Do it now.
100%. 100%. And I also think the main thing that puts people off is they're scared of what could go wrong. But as I've just described, from those wrong careers that I chose, I always found a way out, and I always found something better. You know, even when I didn't enjoy being an accountant, there were still things about that was better than the job before. And those things about that was better than the job before that. You know, it's you have to almost trust your own resourcefulness that you will find a way. You know, this is something I say to my friends all the time, is when they're stuck in a decision between one thing or another. And I say, but whatever you pick, you'll find a way to make it okay, because that's who you are. You're not somebody who's going to just accept being unhappy. You won't accept it. You'll push, you'll find a way to make it better. And so when you think about it like that, what do you have to lose?
Yeah, exactly. Indecisiveness breeds inaction, basically, and you don't go anywhere. But if you even take a step, it's almost like it opens a whole other bunch of paths up for you. So you take a step, it might not be the right step, but actually in taking that action, the next kind of, you don't have to know what the end result is. You have to kind of almost like blindly trust that the universe is just going to show you where to go, one door at a time. So like as you take that first step, another door will open, and actually it might not be what you originally thought it was going to be or look like, or the end result, but then if it feels good, you take that step, and then that then opens more doors, and you know, and it's like then it has a snowball effect, and before you know it, you've got the life that you wanted, you live in how you want, your priorities and your values are all in alignment, and you genuinely like waking up in the morning thinking, I'm happy for today, not like, oh, I don't want to go into work or anything like that. So
you're so right. I think we live in a world where people only see, like, it sounds so cliche, but they only see the top of the iceberg. And it is so rare that somebody, I feel like I'm using all the cliches today, somebody strikes gold on the first go. It's so rare that happens. But that doesn't mean that there aren't good things along the way. Like you say, you take an opportunity, and it might not be your final opportunity. It might not be the absolute best thing for you, but it just teaches you a little something, and then you take that and you go on to the next thing, and you'll learn something there, and you go on to the next thing. But if you don't take those steps, there's no chance of you getting to the end. There is no chance. I mean, I always look to people like Richard Branson or Duncan Bannatyne, and when you actually read about the businesses that they built, their very first businesses are nothing like what they're known for now. It's nothing like it. But you have to have almost like your tester businesses, and it might not be a business, a tester career, or a test a relationship, or, you know, whatever it is, you just have to try, you just have to give it a go.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so earlier on you mentioned that you had been diagnosed with clinical depression.
Yes.
I mean, I don't really know much about that. So is that something that it then stops? Is it something that you live with for the rest of your life? And is there coping techniques that you can share? Are you all right to share a bit about that?
Yeah, of course. It's a really good question, actually. It's difficult to talk about from the sense that it's not who I am anymore. And I
Yeah.
actually find it quite difficult to step back into the person I was at that time, because it just feels so far removed from who I am now, which is a great, you know, it's a great thing that
That's
I
amazing.
really can't, you know, I have no affiliation to that person, it feels. But at the time, it had, you know, I was still very young when I got my diagnosis at 21. But
Wow.
I'd probably been experiencing signs of depression for, you know, the best part of 5 years prior to that. And I'd been in and out of therapy since I was about 16, which was helping me process a difficult family dynamic that I was experiencing at the time.
Mm.
And I don't think it's something that it's like once you're diagnosed with it, you live with it forever. I think my experience is that you have to be aware that that place exists in your mind, is the best way I can describe
Yeah,
it. And
that makes sense.
I think everybody could go to that place. They
Yeah, of
could,
course.
just some people don't. And that's great. And the more people that we can help not get to that place, the better. But I think for me, what helped me, I think really what led me to that place was just, I did not feel like I had options. I didn't feel like there was hope for me. I didn't recognize my own resourcefulness and my own ability to get myself out of a situation.
Yeah.
And I think what happened for me, so I was having the therapy, which was really helpful, don't get me wrong, and I think therapy is incredible and I recommend it to anybody. But the point that therapy got me to, it got me to knowing more about myself. It got me to a place of acceptance. But I was always missing what comes next. So what do I
Yeah.
do now with this information? And I would always say to my therapist, what do I do now? What do I do? What am I supposed
Mm.
to be doing? And she'd always say to me, Hayley, you ask me this question every time I see you. You're not supposed to be doing anything. You're just supposed to be being.
Yeah, we are human beings. We're not human doings.
Yeah. But I said that doesn't work for me. Like, I am so, you know, once I was out of that depressed state, I was like, I am such a doer. I need to know what I need to have a step that comes next. I need to know the solution. I need to be able to fix the problem. And that's what sort of led me into finding a coach, because coaching is very much more forward thinking and solution focused. As I went through my 20s, I was taking antidepressants and I was, you know, managing it relatively well, I thought. And it wasn't until I got into a relationship in my 20s, and I realized throughout that relationship that it was probably becoming quite toxic, and quite controlling, and I needed to get out of it, much like I've needed to get out of jobs in the past. So I had to get resourceful, and that really taught me. I think that was a real pivotal moment in my life where I thought, I am resourceful. You know, I'm not a victim of my circumstances. I can get myself out of this situation and my life can be better. It might have to get a bit worse initially, but it is going to get better. And that for me felt like my cure. I feel like
Okay.
it got me out of that feeling. And, you know, as a result, since that relationship ended, I've not had to take antidepressants since. And
Wow.
you know, I'm not saying that's because I'm not in that relationship. I'm saying that's because that moment is when I knew that I had the power, I had the resources
Yeah.
within
Amazing. And
me.
also it's not one thing that like is kill or cure, basically, is it?
No.
Like, it's an accumulation of things. You'd had coaching, you'd had counselling, you know,
Yes.
you'd had the medication, so
Yeah.
you'd probably got support from friends and some family and stuff. And so it's not like turn on the light switch and that's it, you can stop taking your medication and stuff. And we're not saying that to anybody who is going through anything similar, but Hayley, you're just such a shining example of how it can get better.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for sharing that, because obviously that's very, very personal to you, but I think a lot of people can relate to you either because they've been through it or they're going through it themselves. I think there's a very high percentage of people that the doctors give anti-anxiety and antidepressant medication to, or, you know, maybe they've got children who went through it at the same age as you, or are slightly younger or slightly older or whatever it is. And let's not forget that also, you know, that was a huge growing period in your life anyway, in my life, that you know, that 16 to 21 is that period when you start getting your first boyfriends, having your first kisses, you know, like lose your virginity, whatever it is, start drinking, you know, you're trialing and error in life in general, aren't you? And that's such a huge growing period for you to also have that, like, feeling terrible, that kind of depression side of things as well. But it's really good to know that actually what you've said there is really pertinent, because I haven't really thought about that, but that resourcefulness and relying on yourself enables you to kind of feel that stronger feeling inside and know you can support yourself and you've gotten through some of the worst moments. And so again, I'm going to say to everybody, like, if you're going through those days, like, we all have those days when we wake up and maybe those days turn into longer periods of time where we feel terrible, we're just lethargic, we're not motivated or anything. Just try and reflect back on what you've actually achieved and what you've actually come through, because 100% you'll have dealt with so much stuff in your life already that just keep putting one foot in front of the other and you'll eventually get there, I guess. What do you think about that? Yeah,
I agree. I read a quote the other day actually, that said, you know, if you're having a bad day, just remember you've already survived 100% of the bad days that have come before. And it's so true. It's so true. My uncle said to me many years ago when I was, you know, depressed, he said, you know, you've got to start saying to yourself, if it's meant to be, it's up to me. And
I like that.
And I remember at the time when he said it, I was like, Mom, it's not up to me because I've got this happening, and you know, I could not see in that moment how right that is. And it's not to take away from people who are suffering, you know, at the hands of somebody else's actions, or, you know, you've just been made redundant, and there are things in life that are out of our control, and it's not to take away from that, but it's to say what I do next is up to me. You know, if how I move forward is my choice. You cannot control what happens to you, but you can control how you move forward from it. And that's just what I always try and hold on to.
Yes, I love that. That's really, really good, because it's like that perfect blend of, like, what's meant to be will meant to be, like, but also what's meant to be, if you're going to take some action steps towards it as well. And like you said, like, you can choose how you move forward. Oh yeah, that's gold. I love that. Okay, so fast forward to today and you are coaching. Now listen, you're like similar to me. Let's be honest and frank about this. It is not easy starting your own business, is it? You end up wearing 1,000 hats. You are marketer, you are salesperson, you are website developer, you are copywriter. But are you enjoying it?
Yeah, 100%. 100%. You know what's crazy is last week I woke up and I had like a really scratchy throat and I felt really run down. And I remember waking up and just thinking, at least I don't have to go to a job today. Like, and you know what? I still got up and worked on my business because it doesn't feel like a job.
Yeah.
It's my passion. It's something I'm really passionate about. And don't get me wrong, you know, as you've said, there are hats that I'm having to learn how to wear. and they don't quite fit yet.
Like the big 10-gallon Stetson that falls over your
Yeah,
eyes.
it's, there are skills that I very much still need to perfect, but it's also quite exciting, like just giving something a go. And again, I just, every time I try something and I think that was rubbish, I just say to myself, oh, but next time will be better. Next time will be better.
Yeah.
And it just makes it so much easier. And again, I love watching like inspirational videos just to give you like a little pep talk. And this guy was saying, like, at first you'll think it's really cringy, but then when you've got the business that you've always wanted and imagined, you won't think it is. You'll look back and think, oh, look how much I've grown from that, like, very first reel that I did, or the very first interview that I did. And you'll see it as growth. You won't feel like the embarrassment that you feel now.
Yeah, but also, like we were talking about before, and reflecting back on like what you've achieved, if you don't do it in the first place, you don't have anything to compare yourself to know that you've achieved like so
my
much.
gosh,
so
it's so funny. I took a screenshot of my Instagram account the other day because I wanted to capture how many followers I have, how many posts I've made, and then what I want to do is like look back in the future and say, oh my gosh, look how many more posts I've made, and look how many more followers I have now. And just it is so important to take like snapshots in time, whether it's in your mind or it's an actual physical photo, because it makes you appreciate it so much more when you can see how you've grown and developed.
I had a bit of it wasn't even a love-hate relationship with social media. It was just a hate-hate relationship. I had social media, and basically the only way that people knew, and this was from me working on cruise ships and everything, the only way people knew what I was up to is because other people were tagging me in their posts, because I was like, I do not post. It is none of anybody's business what I am up to. And so obviously then when I came into like, oh, I should probably start posting, from a business point of view to get that side of things, I was like, okay, I'm going to have to develop a relationship with social media, and I'm going to have to try and find fun in it. And do you know what? It hurt at first, and it felt like an uphill struggle. It felt like a fight every day. What am I going to post today? What am I going to post today? What am I going to do? And then I've got to the point where I'm literally like, I'll wake up in the morning with no makeup on and I'll make a post about sleep deprivation or something like that. And I'm very comfortable in talking in public anyway. I always have been. But and then I was like playing and experimenting, and actually somebody messaged me and said, goodness, you are showing up so well on social media. Would you consider doing my social media for me? I was like, oh, hell to the no, because I don't really like it myself, but I like the fact that you're thinking that I'm showing up. So it's also like what your perception is of where you are is completely different to what somebody else's perception is to where you are. Because if you are like 5%, 10% in front of somebody else, they think that you know everything, and you don't know everything, but you're looking at somebody else who's ahead of you, and they don't know everything, but they're looking at somebody else ahead of them. So there's always like a chain of people in front and behind you. And it's just like, let go of kind of any of the self-doubt if you can. We know that's really difficult. Let go of other people's thoughts about you, your own thoughts about you, and just almost try and just have some fun with it. And it's the same with the business, isn't it? Just have fun with it. And if you mess up, you go, well, I won't do that again because I've like learned how to do it, or that felt really uncomfortable, I don't like that, or that got zero response when I put something out, and you're just like, I learned from it, it's fine. So.
But it's exactly what we were talking about earlier. Until you do that first post, you don't know what works.
Oh, exactly.
It's rare that somebody will create an account, post one thing, and they're a best-selling author. Like, there's steps that have to come in between. You just don't always see that. But like you say, it's just giving it a go. Just give it a try. It can only get better.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, so if people want to get in touch with you, like pick your brain, work with you, how do they go about it? How do people find you?
So best places to find me are my website, which is www.hayley-smith.com. Still can't believe I managed to get hold of that domain with a name like Smith. I'm like, oh my God, I've actually managed to get my own name. Or the other place to find me is on Instagram. So I'm at Life Coaching with Hayley.
Awesome. And I will put those links to the show notes, so it's not a problem. Okay, Hayley, you've been fabulous. I'm going to try and summarize our call for the key takeaways. Okay, so the first thing to take away is, if you don't do it now, when are you going to do it? And are you going to put it off forever and just take a little bit of courageousness and take that first step? And that leads into the second point, which is like, take actions and actually just be open to seeing any of the opportunities that come. And it might not necessarily be the right one, but taking an action definitely shows you whether it's the right one or not. Try to look for your own resourcefulness. That's number 3. So if you're having those periods of self-doubt or anything like that, just look back and see exactly what you are capable of, and start, do you know what, even in those good times, I'm just saying, doing this off the top of my head now, even those good times, start writing down. Actually, the best piece of advice I've seen is, get yourself just like a little folder somewhere, and when somebody sends you an email saying that was amazing, thanks, just copy it in. Anything that's like positive, because actually when you're feeling those down days, you can go back and go, oh, look at all these things, all this positive stuff, or something like that. Even if it's a message from a friend saying, oh, I really needed to hear that today, or thanks very much for being there, or something like that. It doesn't have to be work related. And then number 4 is, what you do next is up to you. I love that one. So, Hayley, it has been so lovely talking to you. Thank you ever so much for being very, very vulnerable and sharing your stories with us. And just thank you for like some inspirational chats. And obviously, between the two of us, we've done all of the fridge magnet quotes.
Yeah, that's our next business.
Yeah. I love it. Thank you ever so much. And I'll speak to you very soon, and you can come back on whenever you like.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for listening today. I hope you enjoyed that conversation as much as I did. And as always, any links or anything mentioned will be in the show notes. If you haven't connected with me already, I'd love to meet you. So come find me on Instagram at Debbie Westwell. You can always slide into my DMs and let me know what you thought about this episode. Or why not join my Facebook community, the Alchemy of Self-Care free community. You can also find out how to work with me at debbiewestwell.com. If you like what you hear, then please follow me or hit the bell icon. Share with somebody like you who would benefit from listening. And if you have time, then leave me a positive review, and that would be fabulous. Thank you for being your wonderful self, and I can't wait to chat next time.